Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to the Hayseed night, where we are looking after Burby's hair and kind of trying to make sure that he doesn't get up to any trouble. Cue one Burbies of Askedas wandering about on the first floor with 100 different vials and receptacles sunk to the bottom of a cube. And a very annoyed adder carrying a desk an uncomfortably short distance behind him with his eye nailed to the blonde stag's neck.
Adder, friend, I appreciate that you've decided to assist me in setting up my workshop. I just wonder if you could do me the favor of walking a few steps behind?
You're gonna do something weird if I take my eye off you.
Yep.
Why? Is that how little you trust me?
Yes. Adder's nostrils flared up.
I understand. Trust is earned, and there can exist nothing but suspicion in the absence of knowledge. Very well. I shall continue to employ your assistance throughout my job, so that you may see that I hold nothing but good intentions.
I mean, your intentions have always been good, I think. It's your methods that we question, right? Burby's carefully placed a spread of tools, components, and notes across the table. Adder took his nose to each one of them.
Ooh, that smells strong. You making booze here?
Your instincts remain sharp as ever. Alcohol is indeed the solvent for this solution. Nothing too complex, of course, but I'd rather have good ventilation so as to avoid potentially lethal accumulations of toxic gas byproducts due to impurities. I shall now proceed to mix in the solute. Hand me the magnesium.
The magnesium what now?
No, not manganese. Magnesium! Read the labels carefully.
Adder shoved his right eye in front of the label. Then he pushed his eye patch against it, just to make a show of it.
Carefully or not, I can't read a thing.
Oh, I suppose that would pose quite the impediment to keeping you as an assistant.
Yeah, I thought as much. No worries. I'll watch from the corner and stay out of your hair.
Are you not interested in learning to read?
I mean, sure. I'd love to learn to read someday. But who'd ever waste time teaching a poor, thick-skulled hick how to work the squiggly ink lines, you know?
I could teach you.
Are you for real?
Of course! Raising the levels of literacy across the kingdom is one of my lifelong goals. It's the entire reason I decided to abandon my homestead in favor of joining the Great Academy of Heirloom, in fact. Though my father would not have had it in life, I always dreamt of becoming a professor. And given that the future of my title is uncertain, to say the least, the most attainable route would be to start the change I want to see, person by person. You shall be learning with me as much as I shall be learning with you, my friend.
I don't know what to say, Bearvith. Thank you.
And then we can work side by side on building a new body, better than the old one ever was.
I take it all back.
Oh yeah, find some extra food for Eka. Spend some time with Sepp, patrol the corridors. Do we have anything else we can do here? No. Or at least it doesn't show anything else on the screen. So, I think maybe patrol. Patrolling was an old skill that Adder had never truly let go of. An uncommonly large young man wandering about with a big stick was a fairly successful thief deterrent back home, and it only made him a natural choice for conscription. To this day, he still couldn't sleep for long, as much as he tried. He was lucky to get a few hours here and there every night, and he never felt like staying in bed. An insomniac busybody like him could have had a promising career in the city guard, if the idea didn't make his stomach churn.
We have to do something about it. We can't just leave everyone else to their luck.
We'll only find strength in numbers. We have to let everyone affected know that the doors are open to them to join the fight.
That's mad talk. You want him to burn the entire temple with us inside?
This is why I said I didn't want to have anything to do with that geezer.
Hey, what's all the noise today?
There's word that a guard was ambushed last night outside the temple in a revenge attack, so the guards have barred off the entire district. One of my neighbors was just thrown in the dungeon, but his child managed to sneak past them and run here.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Say what? Y'all know if it was one of us?
No, I'm sure that's not right. Nobody here would...
The people in the group turned their heads collectively towards Itor as he passed by. He snorted hard and then spit out all the phlegm in his lungs.
Come on! It's the helmets we're talking about. I bet that some deer just got spat at after trying to frisk someone and kicked up a fuss. So now they're using that as an excuse.
Anyway, even if it was true, I don't see what the rest of the Zells have to do with any of this. If you have to blame someone, at least blame the ones in the temple, right?
Don't tempt fate now, dear.
Hey, Yatur, can't you go and talk some sense into them?
I mean, I ain't exactly,
You aren't exactly what, huh? Ready to take a step forward for anyone here? You scared of taking out that stupid helmet, too?
Now, let's all cut this poor guy some slack here. We need him alive and well to translate, huh? You know what to do, Water. I'm sure the priestess will know how to handle this.
She'd better.
Translate? Or help patch up the temple? I mean, if we go and translate, maybe we can talk to her about, stuff. Haven't yet found a way to find some extra food for Eka. But, okay. Zhao had a gift, the way Adder saw it. She had an extremely commanding presence despite her size, and an amazing talent for delivering incendiary speeches with the most innocent of intentions, born perhaps from her time scaring brigands on the road. Adder couldn't help but wonder if the effect of her words was increased or lessened through his accent and his mannerisms, if he was somehow overcompensating for his own inadequacy in translating her messages by being far more intense than he meant to be. No, he knew she would have been unstoppable on her own.
You heard the news?
Yes. Dor let me know something like this would be coming this morning, but didn't exactly specify beyond that. He says that I have my way and he has his. I'll make a point to call for peace and endurance during the prayer today and remind the congregation what our purpose is.
Zhao sagged forward, burying her face in her hands.
Whatever it may be. Am I failing them as much as I think, Ada? Is it my fault for letting this situation come so far?
A few seconds passed by. Zhao looked up at Adder expectantly.
You really want to hear my thoughts?
It'd be nice for a change.
As a friend, I know you're doing your best to do good. Nobody could blame you for any of that.
And as a dear?
Adder shifted uncomfortably.
The dear opinion is that hearing all the things the Zells say and how the town replied, this was always going to happen in the end, one way or another. You just got roped into heading the march.
Do you think that Joseph will be mad at me?
What, for taking her spotlight? No. Everyone needs someone to believe in. You and I believe in her. They believe in you. Sep believes in herself. And Aina probably believes that she could punch the whole city to the ground and solve everything in a moment.
Zhao nodded quietly.
I'm going to open the doors to the main temple and let them all into the premises. If nothing else, it's my duty to veil for the safety of the congregation at least. You don't need to get involved any further. Just look after our Joseph, please.
No. Run that by me again one more time, ma'am? You really think I'm gonna get all cozy up in my little corner and leave you alone to deal with this? We're a team. If you find yourself up to your neck in mud, I'm here to give you a ride on my shoulders. If the guards come for us, then we'll just need more people. It ain't about you or me or just Barhan's neckcanes. There's all sorts that have it rough around here. We're fed up as well. We make them see we're together, we'll all be stronger.
A chuckle broke at her incipient revolutionary streak. Zhao was wiping a stray tear from her eye.
Don't cry, please. What is it? What did I say?
No. I'm glad. I owe you an apology, Ada. I really thought you only cared about the Joseph for the longest time.
I mean, yeah, you ain't wrong. I'm only doing this for her. Not that I don't care about you, but this just got nothing to do with me, yeah? I just hate it when folk get treated poorly for no reason, that's all.
Why does that fluster you so much? It's a good thing to care.
My horns it is. I don't want to care too much. You start caring about one person in the street, and suddenly you care about two. And then you start caring about all the people you never met. And what do you do then? You can't just think about everyone having it rough, right? You can't do nothing about it. You can't do nothing for them. You're just hurting yourself for no reason.
Do you really think there is no point in trying to make life better for everyone else?
No, that ain't it. You're right. It's good to care. I'm just saying if you obsess over every single person you can't help, it's just gonna drive you mad.
I'd rather be mad than sad.
Zhao sat up. A moment of silence, only broken by the noise of her stool hitting the floor. Then she smiled.
I think I get it now.
With this, the goat headed out of the forge, leaving Adder equal parts confused and relieved at this change of heart. Okay, so we've got a choice here. Like, obviously, we're not going to the forge, but like, are we going to practice reading in the library or are we going to help around the kitchen? I don't think we have helped around the kitchen yet. My kind of main concern here is the find some extra food for Eka thing, because obviously we don't want the beasts to eat Adder. But as I said earlier, I don't think veggies from the kitchen would do much for the beasts, because aren't the beasts meat eaters? So I guess we may as well go practice reading. There was something about the library which never failed to spook Adder. It felt older than the temple, and 1,000 times more important than any gods that may have taken up residence in it. And yet, here he was, wasting its grandness, one letter at a time.
Let's try it again then. What is this letter?
That's an A?
Not quite. Once more.
And I?
Try to look at the shapes more closely. If A has little horns above and I has ears, which one had a tail?
Adder dragged his hand from his face up to his hair, pulling at his bangs. He trembled slightly, glaring at the letter so hard it seemed he was trying to absorb it directly through his pupil. The stag's patience, boundless for so many other parts of his life, quickly ran out, He pushed the book away.
This is useless. Give it up already. We both got a whole lot of better stuff to do right now.
Frustration is an unavoidable part of learning. You will have to suffer the horrors of being unskilled before you can ever become a master, my friend.
No, you gotta have your head screwed on right for that. I ain't never been good at learning, and I ain't gonna start at my age.
Yes, you will. I'm firmly convinced the reason adults have more trouble learning than children is their conviction that they cannot do so anymore. Beyond any physiological changes to the structure of our heart's learning glandule, of course. I must admit that I cannot quite understand how a man of your curiosity and ingenuity would fail to encounter a chance to learn in his infancy, however. Was your village not equipped with some form of school? A learned man of sorts, perhaps?
Learned? Sure, we got plenty. There was a wandering doctor that dropped by once a moon. My bro Betta never got good health, so he was always writing up recipes for the apothecary next town over. Then you got the merchants that stayed at the inn where my little bro Hosu helped out. Those could read and write, and Hosu was always begging him to teach him. But no one ever stayed enough to see that through. And I almost forgot the monk over at the Eremite for our mountain god. That one couldn't read, but he could recite every single lawn prayer from memory. So he worked as the town judge. He was always scolding our youngest, Yoa. My brothers got plenty of chances to run around and get in trouble, see? But I was the eldest, so I had to stay home to lay the fields and shepherd bushes to the stream and back. All one learns to read out there is the clouds.
Don't you resent your siblings for it?
Adder linked his hands behind his neck and threw his head back, thinking for a moment.
Nah, I'm happy for him if anything. Even back when I got plenty of time to spare, I guess I just didn't feel like learning. It is what it is, right? Pa always said that nothing good had come out of knowing more than one oughta.
I find that there's nothing more terrifying than ignorance, for it is comforting like nothing else in this world. It cannot be cured by anything less than the will to fix it, and it can never be recovered once lost.
Ooh, boy, that's real philosophical of you, Burbeth.
Oh, truly! I could bring some of my thesis on Thorfo's dialectical work for you to peruse next time. Perhaps that shall help open your mind to the fleeting nature of the flesh and illuminate you on the need to transcend your friend's mortal body.
You almost got it right this time, bud.
So, spend some time with Sepp or patrol the corridors? I'm kinda leaning towards spending time with Sepp. We don't have any options to... No, we don't have any options to find some extra food for Eka. Let's spend some time with Sepp. Some nights, Adder stared at the light until his eye hurt, wondering if that was really Sepp. If there hadn't been some kind of mistake and she would turn up one day, and everyone would share a laugh over all the time he wasted talking to a lump of coal. He'd spend the rest of the night apologizing. Adder heard a rustling in the forge. He half opened his eye, finding a short silhouette slinking around with his cane in tow.
Aina? You wish.
Gyof shoved the crook of the staff into Adder's hand.
Bard, what's wrong?
What isn't? Beasts, guards, gazelles! Ugh. I don't know who'll get to us first, but we're not going to stick around and wait.
Gyof tugged the cane back, trying to help Adder get up, only to feel a yank from the other end.
You know my answer, Bard.
It wasn't a question. 'Twas in order.
Gyof fell back on a shield, narrowly avoiding the hammer that he accidentally launched into the air.
I can't leave until Sepp is...
Don't! Don't you dare try that with me again! I'm done with your excuses. If you want to lose your head so badly, you can go and lose it on your own!
Bard, we don't have to do this again. Hey! Gyof. Gyof! Please. I don't want to lose you too.
Tough cheese.
Gyof vanished into the night.
Are you okay, Ada? Your eye looks a little swollen.
Yeah, it's the season, you know? Allergies and all. I'll be fine. Let's just get the day started.
Aw, Adder. Find extra food for Eka. Check up on Gyof. Yeah, we haven't had any way of finding that extra food for Eka yet. Let's help patch up the temple. Today, Adder found himself extending one hand towards the wall and one against the ground, while Wostreb took some measurements. Makeshift support beam wasn't his first career choice, but he was flexible enough. Let's maybe go to the kitchen this time. If I can just make this go up a little. It's weird because it doesn't want to... Oh well, I can click on the kitchen from here as well, like from this view. So let's go help around the kitchen. As soon as the task delivery meeting started, Maswen, once a cook for the family of Chital ambassadors from the Western Limits, now a pantier for a local house, immediately volunteered to oversee the production and delivery of all meals for the congregation. Only a few select people would be allowed to get anywhere near the pantry, with Maswen as the sole key holder. A handful more would help with cooking and other assorted tasks. Adder, as a former water seller, was named chief of running around the kitchen filling pots with water. The patio was always a wonderful place to relax. The water glimmering in the pools, the fresh breeze funneled through the colonnades, and the warmth of the sun-baked bricks that made up the stairs turned the cloister into an irresistible spot. It seemed that Adder wasn't the only one looking for a little break outside. Jao sat tucked into her own corner in the sunlight, head low and whole body about to fall forward. She seemed to be struggling to stay awake. The dark circles under her eyes had never looked quite so grave as they did, starkly shaded against the sunlight.
Jao, hey, get up. I know the weather feels great this time of the year, but you're gonna end up getting heat stroke if you nap under the sun like that.
Jao grumbled something. She clung onto Adder's hand and slowly got up. She hadn't taken 2 steps when her knees suddenly faltered and she tumbled to the ground.
Jao! Jao! You okay? Hey!
Adder shoved his forehead against Jao's, trying to feel her temperature. She just waved him away.
Don't scream in my ear, please. I just tripped. It's nothing.
What do you mean it's nothing? You could have broken your head on these stairs.
I wasn't paying attention and I got up too fast, that's all. Please, let me go. I have things to do.
With that, Jao got up again. She leaned against the pillar for a few seconds and then walked back into the temple. Aha. Extra food for Eka. No, look for Gyof. Oh yeah, that's Gyof. I mean, Eka had a hat too, didn't she? When last time she came to visit. But yeah, Eka is a way different color and shape and yeah. And that totally kind of sort of may have looked a little bit like like some meat or something, but obviously it's the... What's the instrument called? The... oud? Well, we don't have any way of finding some extra food for Eka here. So yeah, let's go look for Gyof.
I'm gonna get stabbed 5 ways to second day.
Adder had spent a good long while thinking about what exactly he should wear as he foolishly made his inglorious re-entrance back in Slander. Knightly, going to get stabbed. Casual poor, going to get stabbed and reported to the authorities for a quantifiable sum. Those were, alas, his only 2 options. If nothing else, he had his trusty staff at hand to pretend he meant business. Not the greatest choice either, as the local wealth redistributors tended to take flagrant attempts at self-defense as quite the insult. But for tonight, at least, he'd made it safely. Adder was back in his old empty house.
Gyof! You in there, Bard? Guess he's already gone.
Ah!
The dull end of a knife staggered past Adder. The buck managed to flatten himself defensively just in time.
Bard! What the hell are you doing?
Gyof blinked a couple of times and then rubbed the sleep out of his eyes.
Adder, it's just you. Don't think you can just drop by unannounced these days, you tactless flea bag. I thought someone was trying to get me.
Darn right I'm trying to get you. To come back, I mean. I thought you'd be out of the city by now. What are you doing here?
Well, I just couldn't leave without... Isn't it obvious? I'm trying not to get myself killed.
In Slander?
Not that it makes much of a difference anymore, but at least I'm not surrounding myself with a death cult like you are.
I thought you wanted to help with your sister, too.
She's got enough help to last her a lifetime. Let me live the years that remain of mine in peace.
Alrighty then. I'll go find someone else to bother.
What? Just like that? You aren't even going to try and change my mind? I can't believe you do this to me! Discarded and sought after only as you see fit!
He's such a drama queen.
Gyof, I came here to try and convince you. You don't want to be convinced? I'm not going to force you.
Of course! Now that you have all these nice underlings who kiss the ground you tread on, you're too good for little old me. Can't bear to spend 2 minutes around Gyof, son of Igai, when he is the one suffering!
Adder took a long, heavy sigh. He crouched down to meet Gyof's eye level and then spoke.
It ain't that I can't. I choose not to. I don't gotta put up with you anymore.
What? How dare you? After I gave you a home and a job and...
You kicked me out of here. I got sacked just last week. And Batot knows the only thing you've ever given me for dinner is trouble, so don't even try to guilt me on that one. There, you got your 2 minutes. Talk to me when you've cooled your head enough to stop being a tailhole.
Wow. The dreams chased Adder that night. He dreamt of a silhouette behind a curtain and a howling in the wind.
Why are they still at large? Do they pretend to defy us again?
We are working relentlessly to find the culprit behind the attacks, my king.
The culprit? You will not find a single creature responsible. It is all of them. They cover for each other with lies and deceit. One bad apple is all it takes.
My king! I understand your anger.
I too wish I could put manacles on every peasant in the kingdom. But it's not like I could just explicitly order anyone arrested on the grounds of being Baron.
Wherefore?
My king.
You have explicit permission from the highest authority in this world, and all to come to do as you must. If a plague befalls a garden, it stands to reason it should be contained before it consumes all that is good.
Your orders, my king?
Have all of them bow to us, or annihilate them all.
Pests may be a crime upon the beauty of Dakna, but it is hardly one worth capital punishment, your majesty.
We shall be the judge of...
My king, I urge you to reconsider!
A glacial silence took over the entire room.
The heir to the house of Askedath would do well to learn his turn to speak, or he will learn to follow in his father's footsteps.
The knight groveled.
You are the arm that moves to realize our thoughts. If our will is that you crush the pests that plague our kingdom, crush them you will.
Yes, my king.
You have much to learn, Captain. You will see one day. Sympathy is the tool the weak use to bide their time.
Adder's whole body seemed to be thrust forward, as if expelled from his dream. Startled and not quite yet awake, Adder swiveled his head around, looking for a threat that didn't exist. All he found was Eina's lilac eyes, seemingly staring right through him. Adder plopped down on his pile of coal. Translate? Or help patch up the temple? Well, obviously we're going to translate. Yeah, those are our only two options. Let's translate and see what happens with this thing here. With each casual conversation he translated, Adder came to appreciate more and more how honest a person Zhao was. The times where she thought one thing and had Adder say another were few and far between, and they always seemed to happen around women. He knew that feeling well. Much like the majority of the temple's populace, Adder didn't understand the intricacies of the cult of Herub. It seemed, however, that prayer this particular morning was required to take place inside the temple premises. Jia performed a series of cleansing rituals, the meaning of which seemed impossible to translate without further context. Adder could only echo fragments of intention out of everything Zhao thought and said.
Now, we cup our hands and bring them to our chests. Picture your heart in them. Imagine that you hold every worry and every blessing. Feel the weight of your pain. Now lift them up towards the sky so that the sun may dispel these shades.
Once satisfied with her prayer, Zhao lowered her hands so as to put her heart back in place and bowed her head. She dismissed the congregation and excused herself away from the offertory first. Adder was about to follow her, worried about this unusual haste, when he felt a tug on his sleeve.
Translator, the priestess does not seem well.
I know. She's been working real hard lately. She won't hear a word about it. I think it's starting to get to her.
I see. Give this message to the priestess. Tell her that Itor will speak with her. This is neither question or request. It is fact.
Ooh. Well, I mean, I don't see any food for Eka anywhere. Like, I don't see the chance to do that, but I do see the chance to possibly learn how to read. Even though Adder was starting to become proficient at recognizing each individual letter, words were a different matter. He would pour his entire being into carefully reading a word and then fail to see what it meant. It just didn't click somehow. Burbis said that this was normal and he would get better with practice, but Adder wasn't so sure. He often felt like he hadn't become better at anything in his life.
Shall I give you a hint?
No, hold on. I got this. Don't help me. Let's see. If the left arm is up and the tail is down, then that's a de?
Indeed, that is correct. Bravo! Let's put them all together then.
De. Lonely R. Adder. Adder? So that's how my name looks? Whoa. It looks sturdy. Like a big boy name, yeah?
There is a whole branch of learning devoted to the study of names and their properties, both in appearance and meaning. I personally wouldn't waste time with such banalities, but I suspect you shall find them quite interesting.
Adder observed the sheet, marveled.
I read my name.
He blinked, and the feeling of elation was gone. Only the awareness of how little he knew remained.
Will you teach me how to read Askadat?
That is a far more complicated proper noun, and I cannot imagine you would have any good reason to know it.
Someone ought to make sure Gyof ain't sending weird stuff to your brother?
Half, brother.
That make any difference to you?
Well, yes and no. And don't misunderstand me. My qualm lies not on the amount of blood we share. My father made plenty of mistakes throughout his life, both before and after I was born. It is not my place to say what I think of them. But, oh, blast that man twice over! Helpar is a phantom of my father come alive.
Say what? They ain't got a single thing in common.
Nonsense! They were cut from the same cloth. From his quenchless obsession with looks, to the constant martial nonsense, to all the humiliations he subjected me to in order to toughen me up as a child. It would be comical if it weren't so cruel. Helpar doubled every flaw my father had to make up for his own precarious situation. And still he continues to torture me. His banishment was lifted last year, but he refuses to return and steal this accursed title no matter how many times I plead. Even after I personally tried to convince him that a lordship means nothing to me, and he can keep it all for himself, he does nothing but whinge about how much he regrets this misfortune he cast upon me.
Burbis started pacing around as he rambled, swatting his good arm for no apparent reason.
Why can't he just hate me like he used to? I know it's my fault. I took everything away from him first.
Burbis's movements became increasingly more jittery, shaking and flailing quite violently, signs of an outburst that Adder had learned to recognize from his time with Aina. Unlike her, however, Burbis still was able to turn to Adder with his arms firmly hidden under his shawl and whisper,
Class adjourned. Please leave.
Hey, translator. Is your name Ad or something?
Yep, that's me. Ad or something. It's Adderson, son of Gyof.
That's you, all right. There's someone out there asking to see the deer that lives here.
Huh? But I don't really live... Oh! Maybe it was Gyof being petty.
No, it wasn't the bard. I think it was a she. Anyway, not one of us, but definitely a gazelle.
Could have fooled me. She looked like a proper twit.
The guards wouldn't let any random girl through. Something smells rotten here.
Curious and terrified to find out who his visitor could be, Adder thanked them and headed towards the gate.
Sir Upperfield.
Bob... Yes, person I've never seen in my life?
Indeed. You've never seen me, you haven't seen me, and you'll never see me again. Needless to say, my presence here poses a huge risk to my person, so I shall keep it brief. For the sake of your descendants, you'd best keep it anonymous. A decree the likes of which hasn't been seen in 100 years has been issued by the king. Every single barhan and heirloom that walks the street unaccompanied by a deer is to be detained and taken to the dungeon.
Something stirred deep within Adder's mind, whispers he could barely remember, struggling to form a whole memory.
Heirloomite barhans are in danger, and I have reason to believe the entire kingdom will follow after. We are to be confined for the foreseeable future until this matter is resolved. However, even after all these centuries, the Temple of Hirub remains, legally, a Basaxaran embassy in foreign lands. To attack it unprovoked without a proper declaration of war would give the Western limits just the fuel they could need to start a war against Akasur.
But that'd mean pretty much all of Dakna would get involved in this.
Bamet nodded gravely.
I know it goes against the request I made the night we met, but would you speak with Sir Askadath once more?
Adder involuntarily cowered at the mere thought, but Bamet continued.
My master is one of the most powerful deer in all of Dakna at the moment. I've known him since he first arrived in the city, and I can tell that his heart is rarely in the right place. But it is malleable like few of his kind. He could still be persuaded to do the right thing.
But why me? He's just gonna murder me on the spot if he figures out who I am.
Sir Osgadath wears his pain on his sleeve. His life feels purposeless now that another lover has abandoned him, and his king makes impossible demands. I guarantee he'll be none the wiser in his misery to the joy he'll feel lying eyes upon your disguise, Sir Upperfield.
I don't know. This sounds an awful lot like a trap.
I find it difficult to believe your situation could turn much bleaker if it were. Let it be a trap. At least you'll have the mercy of a quick death.
Bamet bowed and made to leave.
You still going back?
I have complete and utter faith that everyone involved in this mess will be wiped off the face of Dakna. There may be a future for those that comply, however, so I kindly ask that you make your own choice and forget you ever saw me.
Hey, before you go, can you tell me if Gyof made it safe back to the palace?
Please, I turned him away at the door for his own good. Lord Osgadath never forgets a grudge.
Adder could only watch as Bamet scurried away into the back alleys.
Who was that?
No one important. Don't worry about it.
It was now Adder's time to run. Gyof is grayed out, but we could still go look for him. We've kind of done the quest thing. Is that why he's grayed out? Something is wrong with Zhao. We should go and talk to her. So let's patrol. The night grew old with each lonely step Adder took under the colonnade. Then he walked each step back over the exact same flagstones. Sometimes he'd whistle just to let it be known he was walking nearby. He was thankful that the dark wasn't part of the long list of things he was scared of, even knowing fully well what might await inside. Minds are weird like that. Adder knocked on the frame of Zhao's cot.
Got a visit, priestess. You decent?
Yes, come in.
The door opened shyly, revealing a sable and a roe. Privacy hadn't exactly been a matter of importance to either Adder or Zhao. They spent most of the time together, and they'd fallen asleep on the same premises more than once. But Adder still didn't feel comfortable bothering Zhao in her own room. This coyness did not extend to Etor. He made his way in and marched towards her bed without a second thought. Zhao tried to sit up to greet them, but her weakness was apparent in her face. Etor put a hand on her shoulder and motioned her to lie down again.
Priestess, you should know by now that I am not a patient man. I can't bear to look upon those who waste chances, and my blood boils finding idleness in the face of change. Ibex are said to be great warriors. I came looking for a strong soul.
Zhao cast her face down, ashamed.
But your kind demeanor, and the hope in your words, the innocence in your eyes, you have an air about you that speaks to something I thought dead within. It sends the man I am to sleep and stirs a child awake, and the child fears for you.
Zhao tried to sit up again, but Etor stared her down until she fully laid her head on the cushion.
I know that you are brave. You have long proven this, but you are headed down a dangerous path, and you must acknowledge it.
I appreciate your concern, but I know my limits better than anyone.
My parents would say the same every day. They said that they worked hard for my sake, so that I shall not grow with a debt on my head like theirs. They worked dawn and dusk, until the day the Hatsa reclaimed both of their souls. The only fruit of their efforts was an orphan, stripped of all innocence in the steppes. Their health, their youth, and their lives were taken away by the yoke of the greedy and the powerful, and it was all for nothing.
This is different. I'm giving my all for a good cause.
You are, but your body doesn't know good causes and bad causes. It only knows pain. At this rate, you will wither away before our moment of truth arrives. You will become as you fear, a burden to us all.
Etor rose again, this time with his chin held high so as to look down on the priestess.
Know that if I must take over your duties because you are too weak to continue serving the community, I will proudly step up. And if I do, I won't be as merciful as you have been. If you do not approve of my methods, you'll do well to take better care of yourself. I have spoken.
Once Etor was out of sight, Zhao finally dared to drag her body out of the bed again. A stressed-out chuckle sigh escaped from her chest.
Was that meant to be an intervention or a threat?
I think that's his version of a pep talk, but you heard the bandit guy. He's gonna kick our collective asses into tomorrow if you don't rest up.
Zhao slammed her face against the bed cushion and sighed into it.
Can we get that break you promised the other day?
Oh, you still want me to come along? Look, I'd love to, but I don't know if I feel very comfy leaving Sep alone like that. Why don't you go take some me time outside?
I don't think I could gather the strength to leave here if I'm not dragging you with me.
They both sighed, fully aware of all the worst ways in which they resembled each other. As if sprung forward by an idea, Gyof suddenly bounced up on her bed.
What if we found a way to bring the Joseph along?
Say what? You think we can do that?
I have no idea, but Barbit may know a way. I've read fast Stranger Things from Sephi. He may just be able to create a temporary container of some kind.
I'd really love that. And I'm sure she would too. She used to have me carry her everywhere back in the day.
Adder sighed, happily that is, for the first time in an eternity.
Anything else I can do for you today, Priestess?
No, I think I'd just like to rest.
You got it.
Adder, I know you're anxious, but please try not to hover over everyone's shoulders. You need to take care of yourself too, okay?
Adder nodded without turning back.
Hey, Bones. What's cooking?
Ooh. I think we'll continue from here in the next episode. I feel like this is probably going to be, well, a bit of a longer and weightier kind of encounter. So yeah, we'll end this episode here before it drags on for over an hour again. And we'll see what's up with Ekka in the next episode. I hope she hasn't come to eat Adder. For now though, thank you so much for watching and spending a little of your time with me here today. It was lovely to have you. Please remember to be kind to yourself. Have a lovely rest of your day. And I will see you again next time.